because most people look at it, it's like, well, this is just stats. I'm just going to report stats to my people. And yes, stats are great. Understanding all that information is important. But just like we said, stats like this are old. The anecdotal information that you have from conversing with your people is current, and the education and information on how people can work through things. And this gets into the marketing thing where most agents are just sending out fluff and only fluff, which, you know, we say you want to have a mix of content so that you can hit on different personality types, because real estate is a long play and not everybody is looking to transact real estate right now. In fact, welcome everyone to Life at 10 Tenths, where we inspire you to live at the pinnacle of your ability and purpose. As always, I'm Matt Benelli and he is Garrett Fry, and we are excited to have you guys here today. We got a fun episode for you as we're like in the middle of, well, it's the middle of November as you're listening to this. You're probably in the middle of business planning. We've wrapped it up at this point, but that idea is going around, but there's also a lot of other change going around, and we're going to dive into some of that and how you guys can be at the top of your game. Before that, Garrett, good morning. How are you, sir?
Good. I'm doing great today, man. It's a good day. We got crazy storms outside, so hopefully this all holds together for us while we're recording. We should be just fine, though.
I hope so. And, we got session 3 of our business planning today. So I hope that holds. Which, I should also mention this. If you guys haven't built your business plan, come check us out. We got it all set up for you. You can go. It is now an on-demand workshop for you. Just go to 10tenths.co/GPS, sign up. You get our on-demand workshop, and we have some goodies that we're going to be announcing soon that you're going to get if you are part of our business planning workshop, which lasts for months. So that you'll have access to that. If you sign up now, get your plan connected, you'll have access to those resources for many, many months.
Well, that was what I was going to add in. I was going to add that in, but I think we should jump right into the episode because we got a good episode today, Matt. We're seeing some interesting stuff going on out in the marketplace right now, and I'm watching the agents that I coach one-on-one, and I'm looking at what they're sharing with me. The coolest part about the amount of people that we coach, Matt, you coach a whole lot of people. I think I'm upwards in the range of about 30 people just all over the United States. And we get these insights and we get these little pieces that come to us all the time. And every once in a while, we'll be talking to somebody and they're going to be like, I just had this happen. And you take that and you write it down and you go, all right, that's an interesting thing. It's not a thing yet, but it obviously is happening out there. And then you have another coaching call. Sometimes the next coaching call, sometimes it's later in the day, sometimes it's the one following like later in the week. And you're like, ooh, a correlation. It not only happened for that person, it also happened for this person. Like that's kind of interesting to see how that kind of came together. And then all of a sudden, sometimes there's things where you're just like, okay, back to back to back, it keeps happening. It's like, what happened out there? Like who flipped what switch that turned on this new environment and what we're seeing right now? And I'm hearing a lot of people right now, Matt, coming and looking for information. They're looking for more kind of like what's going on, what's happening, a lot of confusion. I am hearing of so much confusion around the buy side and the sell side. We have a lot of sellers here going, I don't get where the right price is for our property, how we're supposed to be putting this thing on the market. If we were to sell, where do we even start right now? And we got a lot of confusion from buyers of going, what direction is this marketplace going in right now? Is it a smart time to buy? Should we wait? Should we just stay in the home that we're currently in? But we don't like the home that we're currently in. What do we do? I am hearing this from everywhere right now, Matt.
Yeah. Which, I'm hearing a bit of that too, as well. And there's some other things that have been kind of creeping up, but I do find it interesting, particularly on the price side of things, which we've gone into some office meetings to talk about pricing recently because a lot of people are struggling with it. And then I see the articles and news reports where you have the agents commenting saying it's not that prices are coming down from a sold perspective. It's just sellers are starting to get realistic and reducing their list prices. And I was like, okay, but at some point that's going to translate into the other direction. Potentially, maybe, depends on your marketplace. And I think that's the other thing in micro markets, which almost you're finding in certain areas that neighborhoods or size of properties are becoming these micro markets where One might be moving up, one might be moving down, or does it even matter? Because everything's unique in a way, which comes into, if there's confusion out there and people don't know what to do, Garrett, like, who are they getting their information from?
Well, okay, so if the real estate agents are confused, I guarantee you the general public is going, what the hell is going on? And the realtors are confused. So I think, these are these opportunities. I want to put this on the plate too. And I am not saying this is a thing yet. And maybe by the time this goes live here in a couple of weeks, Matt, more people will be going, oh, it's a thing. So just bear with me. I'm starting to see some of these signs. But they are based off real facts. I'm not just like pulling things out of thin air here. I had a coaching call beginning of this week, and I had a gentleman that was talking with his for a foreclosure attorney that he knows. And the foreclosure attorney was saying, all right, we have a little thing going on here that I'd like to work with a real estate agent on. And the more the realtor that I coached dug into this and said, like, how many files do you have on your desk right now? And the guy said, I have between 50 and 60 foreclosure files on my desk right now. And then on the other side of that, he asked, which is the important question, which is, if you go back 6 months ago, how many did you have on your desk? And the answer was 4 or 5. So that was interesting. And I said, there's trends here that happened. That was on last Monday. Circling into this week now, I have a gentleman that has an account with Fannie Mae, and he said, is it odd that they just sent me 3 properties? He goes, I forgot I even had an account with them in helping them with selling properties when they get their hands on them. And he goes, I just got 3 listings passed my direction. He's like, is this a connection, or is there something else you're hearing out there? And I was like, whoa, all right, here we need to pay attention. So I'm sharing that because in marketplaces that I've been in the past, when people are in odd spots, when they're financially maybe uncomfortable, they don't usually yell it from the rooftops. They don't reach out to all their friends and goes, hey guys, we're underwater. How about you? Like they're not looking for similarities and commonalities and like interest around that. It's almost like that person, Matt, that has that odd pain in their stomach, and they're like, I just hope it goes away. I just hope it goes away. And the doctor goes, if you would have got a hold of us 6 months ago, we could have done something about this. But like right now, you got problems. That is a thing that can happen sometimes in the elements of the marketplace that I'm watching right now. And so my biggest thing is be the giver of information. And Matt, this is what led to this podcast today, because I was going, be the giver of information. And you made the comment of sometimes real estate agents will just give fluffy stuff. And I'd love for you to go deeper into that, because it's true. It's stuff that doesn't really give anybody direction, information, deep smarts type stuff. It's just, I got a mailer out. Yeah. And I even picked on one of your mailers because it's one of my favorite ones, but
I know. Well, that was the whole point of it too, was to bring humor to a certain element of the content. And I want to touch on this mortgage foreclosure delinquency thing real quick, because people will be like, oh my gosh, is this happening? And in certain micro markets, it might be. I think there's some certain stats that you want to take a look at, and remember that sample size matters, because foreclosure filings are up about 18% according to a recent article. And so, but delinquency rates in the second quarter this year went down slightly. However, third quarter has not been reported yet. And what you just shared is like, oh, what's coming across? Are they starting the foreclosure process? Are they filing foreclosure? Because understanding all that stuff, and this gets into, now, why is this important in terms of information? Because these are people, as you said, if they had information coming their way earlier on, could maybe have avoided that trip to the attorney.
But I think it's interesting also, Matt, is that we get a weird insight into kind of what's going on, because what we get to see is we have real estate agents that we work with that are talking with their lenders. Yep. They get to see in real time what's going on. They are talking to, let's say, a foreclosure attorney. They are seeing these things behind the scenes. And I would encourage everybody out there, figure out who your professional group is right now. Figure out who all your information providers are that you can get together with on a regular basis and gather data, because by the time it hits the actual news articles, by the time it becomes, an article that somebody put together, I hate to say it, you are not the giver of information. You are the reporter of information that's been given to you, but you are not the one that's going and figuring out. That's not a trusted advisor to me, by the way. You're telling me the articles that are out there.
Well, and this brings right into the content piece of like, how are people giving information? Because most people look at it, it's like, well, this is just stats. I'm just going to report stats to my people. And yes, stats are great. Understanding all that information is important. But just like we said, stats like this are old. The anecdotal information that you have from conversing with your people is current, and the education and information on how people can work through things. And this gets into the marketing thing where most agents are just sending out fluff and only fluff, which, you know, we say you want to have a mix of content so that you can hit on different personality types, because real estate is a long play and not everybody is looking to transact real estate right now. In fact, most of the people that you're marketing to in your sphere, when you're staying in touch and present with them, probably less than 10% of them are thinking about buying or selling right now, right? That said, how we educate and inform people over time will help them see you as their trusted advisor. So most people, since they think, oh, well, less than 10% of my people are thinking about buying or selling, I'm just going to provide only, you know, local content. I'm going to show, here's what's coming up. I'm going to show, you know, happy holidays or all that. Like, here's the set your clocks back. Ugh. Hey, thank God, by the way, I don't think I received one set your clock back marketing piece this year.
We've crossed a threshold in the real estate community.
I've done it.
but here's the thing. Sarah really wishes that she got one. And this is, I laugh so hard because here she is. She's totally removed from what we do a lot on the day-to-day in the weeds type stuff. And she goes, I totally didn't realize when the time change was happening. And she goes, a little postcard that would at least given me a little warning about why I felt like I woke up at a weird time that morning. Like, she goes, it would have been nice to know.
Well, so coming back to like, how do you want to develop this mixture of content? And I always look at it's like, hey, you want to cover the 3 E's, right? Which is education, entertainment, and emotion. If you can have content that covers one or multiple of those categories, you probably have a good piece of content. However, if we never touch on education, it's a problem. And education is not just stats. Education is process. Education is, you know, other information, how to be a good homeowner, how to handle different things. It's also other ancillary things that have to tie, that could potentially tie into homeownership, like financial advisory, retirement planning, all of these things, because real estate is a big portion of a lot of people's overall financial decisions. With credit card debt, Garrett, we've talked about this, at an all-time high, and interest rates with downward pressure, people are starting to think about, hey, can I refinance with this equity that I've built in my home over the next 5 years to get rid of this credit card debt and just put it on a 30-year loan with my house at a rate that is a fraction of what I'm paying on the credit card debt? These are the conversations or the thoughts that are probably going through people's heads. But if you're not sharing information about what does it look like to do that? How do you financial plan for these things? What is really happening with mortgage rates? How do we understand the difference between Fed funds, 10-year treasury, liquidity? You know, what does it mean if we do take out more stuff? And that's just one narrow avenue of education that a lot of agents, Garrett, are just missing out on sharing, which then leads to, oh, by the way, we're getting foreclosed on.
Well, and I think a lot of people are afraid to share information because they don't want to be wrong. And I believe me, and trust me, like the last thing you want to do is be the giver of information where every single time somebody hears the information from you, they go, I don't know about that. Like, I don't know if that's really true. And this is why having your professionals that you look at in your industry, and all of you should be sitting down at some point today and saying, okay, who are the ones that are, they're not in necessarily real estate. They're not actually maybe putting their hands on homes, but they are actually in this world with me, which would be your lenders, which would be, you know, it might be inspectors. It might be, you know, people that you are looking at and going, okay, what's happening behind the scenes that we're seeing out here right now? I would have never said foreclosure attorneys until this last week. it's somebody that if I was actually going to be doing anything moving forward, I would be finding one in town and saying, hey, do you mind if I just call and pick your brain every once in a while just to see kind of what you're seeing, what's happening right now? Because I want to know. I want to be able to get ahead of it so that I can have the educated conversations. If you're gathering real data, you're not making opinions. You're not making just I think this is what's happening. You're sharing upon real data that you collected. And that is where you can put a little bit more faith into like, I'm sharing information that's real instead of just, oh, I have this feeling that this is what's happening out here. Like as I started this out, like I don't think there's a direction necessarily we're heading in, but I am seeing enough signs, enough little pieces that I'm like, that's interesting. We should be paying attention to that. We should be paying attention to this. And that's enough information for me to share with my coaching clients to say, these are the things I want you paying attention to out here. That's my value to my coaching clients. Now you need to look at it from your standpoint and go, what is my value that I can offer out to my clients that are thinking about buying or selling potentially, or any homeowner that just needs to know where they stand. And that's what I see, Matt, is a lot of people need to know where they stand, what they're working with right now, because home is one of those interesting things that, I mean, I've checked on Zillow over the years on my house, and it has swung crazy up and down prices that I'm like, what is it? Like, is this thing even accurate at all? Because the numbers are all over the place. Well, that doesn't give me any confidence. I'll tell you that right now. That just makes me more confused.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and you, with these conversations, this information that you get, there's the sharing of that information. And then there is using that information to help educate on process or opportunity, let's say, because you had said something yesterday when we were talking about this, that attorney had said to your client, gosh, I wish there was a way we could figure out how to help people avoid getting to this step. If we could intervene earlier, right? And that says to me, like, okay, it's not about then necessarily going out to your clients and saying, hey, by the way, foreclosure applications or foreclosure, whatever, are going up. It's, hey, here's what happens if you miss a payment. Here's what to do if you're thinking about X, Y, and Z. Here's what that process really looks like. Here's the additional expenses that can occur. Here's the opportunity that you have with these things. And here's how you can look at these things overall. That is education, right? That is education without data. You're just using the data to say, hey, this seems like it could be of value to a good portion of my sphere at the moment. Why don't I share a piece of content like this? And this is where I think a lot of real estate agents stop short of sharing really good education, is they go, but that's not going to be relevant to everybody. Like my clients are, they're good. They're affluent. They're wealthy. They're okay. It's like everybody in your database, every single one of them. And it's not about trying to please everybody at the same time. It's like, well, that's why I'm just going to send them what's going on this weekend. I'm like, because everybody wants to know what's going on this weekend in your area. Maybe not.
So I think it's an interesting point because, like, you look at, like you said, the 3 E's. And so you said, education, entertainment, and emotion. And so when you look at those 3 E's, for some of our database, they're going to lean into more of those more than others. Like, I get really fascinated by the information, the education side. When that kind of stuff comes through, I'm like, oh my gosh, so what is going on? What are the absorption rates right now for Reading? How does that compare to last year at this time? What is the trend that we've seen for the last 10 years? Like, what is going on, and how does that look for us right now? Same thing with inventory levels, same thing with odds of selling. Same thing with foreclosure rates, things like that we might be seeing happen in the community. New builder permits and what's going on right now, and new construction that's happening in our area that's going to change real estate as we move forward. Because I've seen markets where it's all of a sudden, it's like, man, everywhere I look, there's new construction going up. And then all of a sudden, isn't it interesting? Usually it's way later, we're walking around going, that's weird. I don't feel like I've seen a new home go up in a while. Like, I'm not seeing construction happen. You could have seen that in the new permits being pulled months and months and months before that, and you would have known what was going on and that was going to happen. There's all these trends if we just choose to educate ourselves, but that's not going to resonate with everybody. If I sent that information to my mom, she doesn't care. She could care less. But what she does care about is, ways to improve curb appeal of the house. Things that they've found that actually bring the most amount of curb appeal and, spice things up a little bit. It might also be the simple things you can do inside your house to bring more value to it if you're choosing to sell. She might stop and look at that type of stuff. So I really like what you said, Matt, is like, because I hear it all the time where my clients wouldn't like something like that. Well, you may not like something like that, but your population, your database, people you've collected, believe me, there are people in there that like all of these pieces.
Well, and then we get stuck on, it's like, well, my clients love this one thing, where you have something that's going out to like once a month, let's say, to 200 people. And every month, 5 people are like, man, I love getting this from you. And you're like, my clients all love this, so I don't want to change that. Well, first of all, it's a very, like 5 out of 200 is small. At the same time, that's only one touch a month. Like, this gets into the frequency side of this. And I will say, what all of your people care about is that you know these things. Your mom may not care about the data, but she cares that you know it. If you're going to be the one selling her house, they may not care about this thing over here, but they care that you as the professional know it, because they know that, hey, I know that this person's got it taken care of, right? Like, I know that if I have a question about my car, I can call Garrett because he knows a lot of stuff about cars. And so that gives me comfort in knowing that one of my good friends has that knowledge if I need to go down to it, which means that now that's a kind of a different, avenue. Now think about that, but amplify it into your actual profession, right? I know that just through our conversation. Garrett doesn't need to advertise that to me because we're friends. But as a professional, like, you share that stuff with me, I want to know that you know what you're doing. Because when it comes time for me to sell my house, I'm going to think about 2 categories of a person initially. One, the person who I am in communication with at a high frequency. Makes sense. Everybody knows that. Reticular activating system, whoever's in touch with me, that's the person I'm going to think of first. And then the second thing is, does this person have the skill and the knowledge to handle what I'm about to go through? Can they do it better than me? And by the way, every buyer and seller has a massive ego and they think they know what they're doing. So you must have a bigger one in a way to be able to override that, to be like, yeah, but I really need to trust a true professional. So I'm going to call Garrett and see what we can do here. And that's where frequency of this communication comes, Garrett, being the giver of information first, which goes into the other side of this too, is if you have people coming to you and asking you for things, then you are behind, right?
And it can be really misleading, because what happens is you have people coming to you looking for information, and our ego goes, oh my gosh, isn't this great? People are coming to me looking for information. But the real goal is, how can I get the information to them before they have to ask? Mm-hmm. Because if they have to ask me, I'm not necessarily the one they're looking for as the industry leader that knows what's going on before I have the questions. I love it when I have people in my world that are answering questions for me before I actually have the question, because it's all of a sudden when it comes up, it's like, oh yeah, I heard about that yesterday from my friend Matt. He shared that with me, or I got something that gave me that answer, or I'm able to answer that for one of my friends because I got the information from Matt. You're almost giving them the power of the information so that it kind of brings them up a little bit. But if they're having to come to you all the time for information, if they're always having to come to you for the updates and all the things, and this is where we've been talking about, a lot of you who listen to us know them as real estate reviews. At Life at 10/10, we call them market impact reports. I've actually had people get a lot better results, actually, just in changing the name of them. It's the craziest thing, because all of a sudden it just feels different. But we have a lot of people pouring into those right now. And I'm telling, like, all the people I coach, I'm like, stop overthinking them. Mass produce them right now. If we have that many people out here who are confused and looking for information, just get them in their hands. Stop overthinking it. Now, my normal tune, just for anybody who's paying attention, my normal tune is 2 a week face-to-face. But when we see a crank up in people having confusion or questions, just start pushing them out to people. And all you have to say is, I have a lot of people that have questions about this right now. I thought you might appreciate this information, and get ahead of it going into this new year. You can fire up your first quarter like you've never seen when there are people that have questions about this type of stuff. And also the marketplace that I'm watching right now is going to be really rewarding, I think, in 2026.
I agree. I think so. That brings up an idea for everybody, because I love the market impact report route. If you're seeing data, if you're seeing a process, something that is, a little bit more than just a siloed thing for like one or two people, that you're like, hey, I think a lot of people would value this information about the data, about a process or whatnot. You have two avenues to share that. And I think you should do both. One is through your marketing, postcards, emails, social media for sure. Remember, your distribution there is not in your control. That's why the mailbox and the email is usually the best for distribution. But then the one-to-one, delivering it through a new timely market impact report, which could be the same template that you always use. Plus, by the way, here's some information that I'm seeing going on right now that I think you might find interesting and valuable. So now you get, and people say, well, but then they're going to get hit with all the different marketing. And that's like, yeah, sometimes you need to show up multiple times with people for them to sink in.
One of them is just created for them. It is something that you took your time, your energy just by yourself. It's not that postcard that got put in every single person's mailbox and they're like, oh yeah, John down the street got the same postcard that I did. This is something that has their name at the top, their address. It is 100% for them. There's so much power in these. And it's funny, Matt, they are so neglected and avoided. The amount of people that I'm like, they're like, oh yeah, my market impact reports go out routinely, consistently, every single time. It's more one of those of like, oh crap, I haven't done this for a while.
Yeah, and we were like, well, I just did them, 6 months ago with these people, so do it again. Like, yeah, people with marketing and with things like this, we get so like caught up in our own self in terms of like, well, I'm concerned that they're going to think that I am blah, blah, blah. It's like, is this information valuable? Yes. Do you think that they would enjoy receiving this? Yes. Does it matter what they think about you if those two answers are yes? No. Okay, great. Let's do it.
Well, and I think if you're paying attention to your people also, if you are taking the time to get on the phone, be in their world, figure out what they've got going on, what you're listening for is the nuances of going, I bet you they would benefit from this information right now. If you're watching that their daughter or son just went off to college and you haven't talked to them in a long time, but you saw it on social media, and now all of a sudden you blast them with something with no phone call, no reach out, no connect, but you have a header on it that says, hey, notice your daughter just went off to college, and hey, if you guys are thinking about moving, I want you to know where you stand. That's totally different. But if you knew me and you knew that my daughter just moved out of our house, we have 2 empty bedrooms now. If you've been in my world, sometimes it's not bad to say, hey, I just want you to know where you stand with your home right now. I thought you might appreciate this information. You don't need to put a big cover letter on it. You don't need to put a big statement of what it is. You just talk to me. We have a relationship. That information is very valuable, and we overthink this stuff, Matt. And all this being said, all the way back to where we started this is right now we're watching a good amount of confusion in the marketplace. I'm watching buyers act like confused buyers. I'm watching sellers act like confused sellers. I'm watching realtors act like confused real estate agents. And in these moments, you need to be the provider of information. Surround yourself with professionals, grab the information you can grab out there, and share it with your clients. Share them great information that's going to help them make smart decisions in their world. And with that being said, Matt, I think we could put a bow on this episode.
Totally. I think that was the perfect, I love it. So
for all of you listening out there right now, we appreciate you tuning into us. If you don't have a business plan, or if you're like, crap, I know I'm supposed to build a business plan, but I haven't gotten that, because I know so many of you are going to make it into 2026 going, oh yeah, that's right, I need to make a business plan. And then February is going to hit and you're going to be going, oh yeah, that's right, I need to make a business plan. And by the time you get to March, April, it's one of those like, should I even do it, or should I just roll with the year that I have right now? Don't get there. That is wandering around aimlessly in the forest where you know you want to get to the other side, but you have no clue what your tools are or how to get there. Come and join us for business planning. You can go through it at your own pace. We're going to have this up for a while, and we appreciate all of you. Matt and I love doing what we're doing. If you want to support us, you can jump into the Inside Track. We have that in our community. You can find that on our website at 10tenths.co. And you can also go on YouTube, hit the subscribe button on there. That is one thing that it seems so silly, but if you hit the subscribe button, YouTube loves it. They go, hey, you know what? People love these guys, and we love them, and we're going to share this with more people. So please go do that. And Matt, thank you, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate you, man. I appreciate all you tuning in. Have a great day, and we'll see you on the next one.